Hi there, it's Judith and Desjardins in Santa Monica, and I want to welcome you to my hallway. And you might be wondering, what is she doing in her hallway, and how does this relate to her cancer treatment? Well, the fact that I am taking the time to iron the top of my sheets is an indication that my world is returning to normal, or a new normal. Because in fact, by and large, I have never ironed my sheets. But I do recall loving to sleep on my mother's beds when I would visit her in Tucson, because she always ironed her sheets. And there's something about leaning into a crisp sheet that is really, really wonderful. And I found myself in my bed lamenting the fact that the top of my sheets that was by my head and folded over and was supposed to be nurturing me was in fact irritating me, because I didn't like the creases in the top of the sheet. And that's the kind of a detail that someone just diagnosed with cancer, or just having surgery for cancer, or just recovering from surgery from cancer, or a person who is currently on chemotherapy would not normally pay any attention to in the world. And I thought it was pretty funny and noteworthy to share a session about this, because I feel like Rip Van Winkle in a way, that I have awakened from this deep, terrible nightmare that I have been experiencing for the last 6 months. The diagnosis of cancer, the quick necessity to have surgery, the difficult recovery in the abdominal area from 5 incisions to remove 40% of my pancreas and all of my spleen. And then to be told that it was a good idea for me to buy insurance, that the cancer would never return by starting chemotherapy. It was something I didn't want to do, but I felt obliged to do. And at the beginning, my infusions were difficult and very, very frightening and very terrorizing. And I can tell you that I would not have noticed any detail about my sheets, that I was just kind of in a fog. And now that I've completed my 8th infusion, and will probably be only having maybe 2 more until I'm done with chemotherapy, I'm getting a new perspective, that I'm sort of at the end of the tunnel, and I'm walking into the light, and I'm having time to notice details that I may not have noticed in my life pre-cancer, when everything was very stressful. And I did some reflecting in my journaling in terms of what was going on in my life, say the year or 6 months before I was diagnosed, and I see that there was a lot of turmoil. There were a lot of disappointments in relationships that really hurt me at a deep core. There were problems in the homes I own in terms of huge expenses and repairs from natural disasters and whatever. I was probably working too hard, not making enough time for myself. And a lot of times a combination of those things can be what depresses your immune system before you start producing a tumor. And this is something I've been reflecting on it now again, because I have more mental clarity now that I have spaced my chemotherapy infusions 3 weeks off between infusions. I spend the first week recovering from the infusion. I have a lot of fatigue, increased fatigue over what I experienced in the very beginning. But once I get over that, and I see my little boy Hopi is visiting me here in the hallway, and noticing that Mommy is making another video, and he's like, what is she doing with that iron, and what is she doing in the hallway? Well, I want to share with people some other thoughts besides feeling good about being at the end of my treatment. I also want to talk about and share some of the details of what do I do between chemotherapy infusions. What do I do with that 3-week period? And I want to tell you that the first week is about recovering, letting the body recover. I need lots of rest. I need to be quiet and kind of slow. And then by the second week, say after the first 4 days, I start getting a return of my energy. And I've been very serious about what I do to promote well-being in my body, mind, emotion, and spirit. So some of the things that I do that are like a job, they're like work. I'm putting myself first in terms of my recovery. You can't just go to the hospital, go to the clinic, and let the medical staff do what they will with your body. You have to take responsibility and ownership of your body, and what are all the things that I can do to ensure healing, restoration, increase of my immune system, well-being, body, mind, emotion, and spirit. So some of the things that I do are I ensure that I'm taking a 1 to 2 hour walk, run down very steep hills in my neighborhood in all different directions for 1 or 2 hours. I do that probably 3 to 4 times a week. Then nutrition is very important. What I do is make smoothies with fruits and vegetables, with goat yogurt, so that I have a volume. I use a quart-sized mason jar and fill it with this thick, nutritious smoothie to help digestion after you've had these anti-nausea medications and your infusions. It can be very constipating and painful. So I make sure that I do that every couple of days. I also juice organic fruits and vegetables. Top heavy on the vegetables and enough fruit to sweeten it up, which are very important, easily accessible micronutrients that go directly into the bloodstream. Very important after treatment to replenish any of the damage that the chemo did to your immune system and your cells. You want to rebuild their vibrancy, their ability to seek out and destroy any malingering particles of cancer in your system. So you need to feed your body things that will rebuild the microbiome system in your abdomen, which is where a lot of the immune cells are hatched, you would say. So those 3 activities take a lot of time. The weekly exercise, juicing, smoothies, making lots of salads. I will make a whole big stainless steel bowl of freshly washed and rinsed romaine lettuce and have that on hand so that I can just get in my refrigerator and take that lovely, crisp, clean lettuce and build salads on that. Salads that have nuts of various types and very good mixture of vegetables. That too takes a lot of time. What else do I do? All of these things are time consuming and they feel like a job, and sometimes you don't feel like doing them. But I believe they have a wonderful impact both on restoring your sense of yourself as a person, your regular, real identity that has nothing to do with this period of time when you are a cancer patient. I take time for prayer and quiet every morning. I make a beautiful fruit bowl that has all kinds of fruit and walnuts and roasted sunflower seeds and goat yogurt, and I take it and sit outside in one of my gardens where I can just be connected to the earth, be quiet. I read the daily word that has a nice 1-page passage, positive affirmation, something to think about, to ingest into my spirit. I sit quietly and make contact with the birds, the wind, the sun, my trees, all of my various kinds of plants and vegetables and things that I'm growing. That feeds my spirit. There are days when I am challenged with feeling kind of down, sometimes depressed. In those times, my go-to is my journal and seeking assistance from my higher power, which is the Holy Trinity. I ask them to help me address this problem. I ask for their energy, for their direction, for their guidance, because I'm temporarily lost. And I spend time in that quiet, acknowledging my emotion at the time. So that's very important. Another thing that surprised the heck out of me the other day was that I had a thought of cancer recurrence that became quite profound, and I'll tell you what prompted that. My husband had brought home a salad that had some ingredients in it that did not agree to me with my body. A lot of black pepper. So that night when I went to sleep, I began experiencing some of the warning symptoms I had when I had undiagnosed pancreatitis and the pancreas cancer that was in my body. I had started having reflux, I had a bloated stomach, and I was terrified that the cancer had come back. And I experienced these negative voices, this negative chatter in my head telling me some untruths, like yes, the cancer came back. You're going to be having another recurrence of pancreas cancer. All the videos you've made about being proactive, about surviving cancer, all of those, you're going to look like a fool because the cancer is back. And those thoughts just came really strong and really hard, and they were very frightening. And so I told my husband about that. I said, this sounds very irrational, but I need to tell somebody about these thoughts. And he said, of course this can't be true. You're on chemo. You're stage 1. Pancreatic cancer couldn't have come back. It's not going to come back for you. But that was a very frightening experience. And suddenly I had this song that came to mind that was, the words of the song were, what you fear in the dark, you must see in the light. And that was an intervention of the Spirit of God coming to me and saying, don't believe these lies. They're not true. You're doing everything that you possibly can to rid cancer from your body. You are in recovery. The oncologist said the cancer is gone. The chemotherapy is just your insurance policy, that it never comes back. So even those kind of things can happen, and you must work at them. You must confront these irrational fears or lies that come into your head when you are a cancer survivor. You must stand fast in your belief that you are strong, you are resilient, the treatment is working, you are in God's hands, you have power over your body, mind, emotion, and spirit. And so I just wanted to share some of that with you today. It's all part of the cancer journey, and I'm here to share it with you and share my experiences. And I send you God's blessings and prayers for your recovery, the strength of all the parts of your being. And thanks for being with me today. Bless you.